I want to speak about our brother Sean P. Diddy Combs being acquitted of the two most serious charges in this particular case, which were the sex trafficking along with the racketeering, because the case was weak to begin with. It was a case of domestic violence at best, and I'm glad to see the so-called justice system finally working in the favor of our brother P. Diddy to a certain degree, because more often than not, when you black and being ran through that so-called justice system, you guilty until proven innocent. There's double standards that exist inside that so-called justice system between white people and black people, and I ain't with, innocent black people being scapegoated, railroaded, and thrown up under the bus. They could miss me with that. You know what I mean? Because all they was trying to do was, the mainstream news media outlets, along with the court of public opinions, was destroy our brother Diddy's image and legacy in the mainstream public lexicon, and they can miss me with that. You know what I mean? Because why ain't the hell ain't no, we see it day in and day out, week in and week out, black prominent, black male prominent celebrities and entertainers in that entertainment industry, being tore down left and right and brought up on bogus, sexual allegations. Why the hell ain't no white celebrities being brought out on those sexual abuse allegations left and right like that? So they convinced me with that whole lying false narrative. And then you got the damn tether class along with the coons and the white supremacists who want to run around and keep pushing this false narrative, that Diddy's somehow guilty of this nonsense, which he not. They convinced me with that, and then we also hear this false narrative being put out there, that our brother Diddy has something to do with our brother Tupac's death, which is a bunch of nonsense and it's just speculation. None of that was ever brought out in none of our brother Diddy's, court appearances. So they convinced me with that. And I got a question to pose. If our brother Tupac was still alive on God's green earth, would he co-sign what they was trying to do, which was railroad and destroy our brother Diddy and throw him up under the bus? And I'm going to say hell to the no, absolutely not. Our brother Tupac wouldn't co-sign and endorse them doing that, to Diddy, because our brother Tupac was on that black empowerment type of timing. He didn't like to see, black people destroyed and things like that. So our brother Tupac wouldn't have, co-signed nor endorsed it. And our brother Tupac, was to my knowledge and understanding that, he would have hatched things out and patched things up with Diddy, Biggie included, so I got the audio and the video of, our brother Diddy, which I'm in alignment with, in agreement with, being cleared of the most two serious charges, which he could have spent the rest of his, natural life behind prison bars and, for, and we're going to walk through and talk about it how we normally do, family. Fair use.
Sean P. Diddy Combs' mom, Janice, waving to the crowd, his children breaking into smiles as they leave the federal courthouse in downtown Manhattan after the stunning verdict. Shouts of congratulations fill the air as they climb into a waiting van.
Congratulations, Mama Combs!
This is the scene as the family left the court today. Check this out. Here's the van. Look at the number of press and bloggers and fans and detractors. They've all been gathering here since the trial began, and here today, finally, the verdict.
It was pure drama as the news networks went live with the breaking news.
Racketeering, not guilty.
He was found not guilty of racketeering, the most serious charge. He was also found not guilty on 2 counts of sex trafficking. But he was found guilty on 2 lesser charges.
He was found guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Each carries a maximum of 10 years behind bars.
The jury's verdict was a resounding rejection of singer Cassie Ventura's riveting testimony about the freak-offs she says she endured in her years as Combs' girlfriend.
We're pleased that Cassie's brought to light everything that has happened in this trial. I just spoke with her and with the U.S. Attorney's Office.
And everything was consensual, although it was freaky, and some of that stuff was off the wall. And I don't co-sign or endorse it, but it was all willing, so Diddy wasn't guilty of not a damn thing, and the court approved it, so damn the court of public opinions and what people feel about the matter. Our brother, is free of those, 2 most serious charges, which he could have spent the rest of his natural life behind bars for. And I'm glad to see that our brother got free, truth be told. So they could miss me with the whole lying narrative that Diddy is somehow guilty of this nonsense.
Office team, and she's in a good place. She's pleased.
The note from the jury came in at 9:52. We have reached a verdict on all counts. They had deliberated for just 13 hours. As the verdict was read, he turned to his family and put his hands together in prayer. He also pumped his fist and mouthed, thank you to the jurors. He briefly put his hands over his face and exhaled. His family and friends whistled and clapped after the full verdict was read. A courtroom sketch shows a now gray-haired Combs on his knees in prayer. Combs still faces 20 years in jail on the 2 convicted counts.
We're hopeful that ultimately he
That was a play to destroy Diddy's image and likeness in the eyes of the public and strip away all that black generational wealth that he gonna be able to trickle down to his descendants, truth be told.
receives a substantial sentence for what he's done.
But experts say realistically, he faces far lesser time behind bars, perhaps 2 years max.
hear what that guy just said? Let me
But
do
experts
mine.
say realistically, he faces far lesser time behind bars. Combs on his knees in prayer. Combs still faces 20 years in jail on the 2 convicted counts.
We're hopeful that ultimately he receives a substantial sentence for what he's done.
But experts say realistically,
He a hater. That's Cassie Ventura's, attorney. Of course he'd be, he could miss me with that as well.
he faces far lesser time behind bars, perhaps 2 years max. So it has all come to an end, with Sean Diddy Combs finally knowing that he will not spend the rest of his life.
I'm in alignment and agreement with that. Hopefully our brother Diddy gets, out quick, fast, and in a hurry before those 2 years. And I got some advice for our brother Sean P. Diddy Combs. You was just in a jam, a tight pickle, and none of your so-called friends and bigwig music industry associates and fellow moguls came to your aid and, even offered up no character, witness, as to your character and likeness, So my advice to you is, if I was in a jam and in a tight pickle like that, and down at rock bottom and none of my so-called friends came to my aid and assistance and would even offer a character witness, I say to hell with them all, in the same way you should, Diddy. Just my thoughts on the matter. Peace.